Hello and welcome to another thrilling episode of Furries in the Media, the series that takes a look at video clips that feature furries and reviews them based on how the furry fandom is represented. I'm your host Aberguine, and today, let's take a look at some news coverage from WAFB Baton Rouge.
They are furry and perhaps up to no good. Might want to watch your children around these characters.
Nope, we're done. The episode's over. Aberguine, get back out here and do the episode. No way, Sam, I don't want to. Don't make me break the fourth wall to get you back in here. Try me. Yoink. What? Wow, Sam, I wasn't expecting that to actually work, but I'll get back to the review. Not even 20 seconds into the clip and they're already warning people to keep their children away from furries? Alright, let's just get this over with.
Alright, this next one is just outright bizarre. They are called furries. People that like to dress up like animals and get together.
There is a lot more to the fandom than dressing up in the costumes, but they're not going to go into that, are they?
Not your typical hotel guest.
It's crazy. I walked in the hotel and seen Chester Cheeto Man. It ain't normal. I don't see people with tails on. That is weird.
Aw, well, it looks like the news station couldn't find any experts to agree with their narrative that furries are weird and harmful, so they went to the next best credible source. Cherry-picked quotes from interviews with random people they pulled off the street.
Over Labor Day weekend, this Memphis Holiday Inn turned into a holiday den for hundreds of people whose interest in dressing up like animals goes well beyond the musical Cats.
Well, there were over 600 people at the convention, but only about 100 of them were in costumes. So, hundreds of people in costumes? I don't think so.
Each has their own persona, or furry alter ego.
Well, they do explain what a persona is, and it's actually a passable definition.
They love living like an animal, or at least dressing up like one.
There are some furries who do live like an animal, but a lot of them turn off the act in their day-to-day life.
Some furries even bring their children to fur meets.
I just want them to see, the kinds of things that their father is interested in.
Oh, the humanity! We can't expose the children to cartoon animals!
Most furries are men. There are very few women in the fandom, though our cameras did catch a few.
That's technically true. The furry fandom is mostly made up of males.
Each animal represents a different aspect of the furry culture.
Yes, furries do often have a personal connection to their persona.
So what do they get out of it?
You can be and do things that you can't normally do. A little bit more freedom. I could do things I wouldn't normally do, like poke people or tickle and hug and stuff.
There are plenty of reasons aside from these why a furry would choose to wear a fursuit, but hey, these are just as valid.
For some furries, that stuff involves sex. At this convention, furries attended late-night classes on safer sex and adult websites.
Oh no, not a panel about safe sex practices. We can't have people taking responsibility for their own actions.
A code of conduct posted online said back scratches and hugging were acceptable, but passionate kissing, tongue battles, and fondling were not. The furries here were told to take it to their room if they had to think twice about doing something in public.
If the convention's code of conduct has forbidden what basically amounts to French kissing in public spaces, they're not going to allow an orgy in the middle of a hallway. This fur pile they keep showing, those fursuiters don't seem like they're doing a whole lot of wiggling or anything, really. Actually, they're really still. Could we get someone to check on them to make sure they haven't collectively passed out from heat stroke?
We have gotten our share of bad publicity, and as the old saying goes, sex sells, and that's what a lot of the media has portrayed us.
You want to run that by me again?
We have gotten our share of bad publicity.
Okay, there's way too much stuff to cover here, so let's go over it at the end of the video. Next part.
We are very proud of the good things we have been able to do here with working with the various charities.
The convention managed to raise more than $9,000 for a tiger sanctuary that year, but who cares about that, right? These weirdos have a panel on safe sex practices.
Whether it's fun or a fetish behind the animal urges, the furry to say they're just normal people having a good time.
There's nothing outstanding about us.
Who just happens to like dressing up like an animal, along with hundreds of his furry friends.
What you see at a convention is not how most of these people act in their daily lives. Most of us are self-aware enough to know that our interest in cartoon animals is largely considered weird, but we do have an off switch, and we can blend in just fine with normal society.
You need to throw up? I got it there for you.
I feel like I need a bath after that.
Oh, wait. Here at the help desk, we can also help you out with that. We got a little sanitizer at least.
You got everything ready to go.
This is like watching kids on the playground get freaked out over a case of cooties.
Saying before the internet, how do you start a Furries group?
Serious answer to your question, the interest branched out of science fiction before becoming its own thing. But you wanted a stupid answer, so I'm gonna let you handle this one.
Hey man, you know what I'm into? Throwing on the wolf costume, dancing, poking. Oh, let me bring my kids out here. This is such a wholesome family event. Let's see what Dad likes to do.
First of all, furry conventions aren't about sex. In fact, it's in the convention's best legal interest to keep adult content away from minors because they could get into serious legal trouble for distributing pornographic content to minors. Secondly, I think people can decide for themselves whether or not it's right to bring their child to such an event. And lastly, can y'all just let that guy raise his kids how he sees fit instead of openly mocking him for it? Let's take a look at the review stats. Information accuracy is 36%, and the spirit of the clip is 0%, giving us an average of 18%. And now time for my thoughts. While this video clip doesn't seem to be the most inaccurate representation of furries that I've seen in this review series, I think this clip is easily the most mean-spirited. At least the other videos that have gotten it wrong usually have the excuse of trying to bring in more viewers or get higher ratings, but this video clip doesn't even try to mask its animosity towards furries. Right from the start, the news station introduces furries as being up to no good, and they warn the audience to keep their kids away. Instead of bothering with expert opinions, they showcase a bunch of random people dismissively saying that furries are weird. And at the end, instead of the news anchors taking a moment to discuss why they don't like what they just saw in the story, we see them propagate the notion that even associating themselves with the story they just presented warrants emergency hygienic procedures. The one part of this video that I find the most interesting to dissect is this part.
We have gotten our share of bad publicity, and as you know, the old saying goes, sex sells, and that's what a lot of the media has portrayed us.
We see footage of what the news station is trying to pass off as an orgy, while the guy they're interviewing says that the media has often put furries in a bad light. On a superficial level, the news segment is trying to be ironic by showing this guy's opinion that outside media coverage is responsible for the fandom's bad image, while the furries are already giving themselves a bad image by having an orgy in a public space. The thing is, the footage they keep showing isn't actually depicting an orgy, but they're relying on that first impression to give the audience the idea that it is something sexual. So once we've stripped that part away, we're now left with this guy giving his opinion that the media has often given the fandom a bad image in the past, while the entire purpose of the segment that this interview is included in is to give furries a bad image. Of course, they can't have some furry calling them out on what they're actually doing while they're doing it, so instead of taking the safe option and just leaving the guy's opinion out altogether, they try to cover it up with an attempt at ironic humor. But I think the biggest mistake WAFB made was letting their personal feelings color their portrayal of furries instead of objectively reporting the facts. This is problematic because news stations are supposed to be objective in their journalism and separate their opinion from what they're reporting. This also seems to be the same reason why the infamous CSI episode was so harmful. It gave people the impression that it was based in fact, so people had the expectation that the portrayal they were seeing was objective. But we know now that the resulting show was anything but. Of course, there's nothing inherently wrong in having an opinion against furries, but when that opinion is asserted as fact from a source that is expected to uphold objectivity, that's a problem. There. All done with the review. See, Aberguine? That wasn't so bad. Feel better? Yes, I do, Sam. Go on and end the episode, then. Well, that's it for today's episode of Furries in the Media. Have fun, stay awesome. Bye-bye! Don't forget to spay and neuter your pets. Wait, what?